Hey, thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Breaking Bitcoin Market Update. And should all go well, guys, this will be the last pre-recorded video we do for a while. We will be returning tomorrow with our live stream from noon to 2 Central Daylight Time. I am so looking forward to seeing you guys again and doing some live interaction with the chat. I've been missing you guys, and thank you so much for your continued support during our brief hiatus, guys. All right, let's get into it, guys. We had a nice bullish day in the altcoins today. We had obviously a little bit of hit and miss, some altcoins showing a nice little bit of a surge, and then Bitcoin and Ethereum putting in some nice activity as well, causing a slight drop in the altcoins. We're going to break this down. We're going to look at where Bitcoin is going in the near future, give you guys an update on our positions, show you the charts. And today we're also going to do a little special segment. So I touched on this briefly yesterday, but I did want to give more of an in-depth introduction and talk about Bitcoin Cash ABC and Bitcoin Cash Satoshi's vision and the whole debacle with a Bitcoin Cash SV being delisted from Binance. So we're going to do a recap on what brought us this far with Bitcoin Cash ABC and Bitcoin Cash SV. We're going to explain Calvin Ayre and Craig Wright and Roger Ver, how they all fit into this, as well as Bitmain. And then we're going to break down just briefly the events that led up to Bitcoin Cash SV being delisted from Binance, as well as Kraken, and now other major exchanges as well. So we're going to break that all down, and we're starting right now. All right, guys, so let's break down the activity in the market today. Let's look at the hourly chart for XBT USD and talk about the volatility. Let's talk about the movement that came in. What were the technical indications that you could have been using? And again, I encourage you and implore you to go out and check for systems of your own that are going to help you capture movements on your own. But I will show technical indicators that you could have used utilizing parts of my strategy to be able to catch these trades. Now, the first thing that I want to do is go ahead and take Ichimoku off, and we'll talk about time transformation. So time transformation right here did put in a buy upon that initial test of support around the $5,000 area. We talked previously about how those bids at $49.50 got filled. We were able to take profits on that $51.50. In retrospect, obviously, had you held on for that $5,200 level, which we did not, or at least I did not personally. All the members of the group or all the individuals that I trade with obviously are going to be managing their accounts in a different way. But that $5,200 target that I did talk about to the upside yesterday was definitely on the table. That did accomplish today. But the main thing that I do want to talk about here is that we do get the buy signal from time transformation here. Gives us a decent trade right there, not the best trade. This is a very nice short scalp right here, the sell signal right here, rejecting from resistance. As you can see, we had support. Price comes up, taps into that initial zone as resistance, rejects against it, puts in a time transformation hourly sell signal, bottoms right here, and you get the buy signal getting out of the trade. So that's a nice scalp right there. Buy signal right there sets you up beautifully to take profit back inside the bearish order block that we talked about yesterday. So we came up and tested the bearish order block and got swatted down like a fly. And now we are absolutely right back at an SR test. We are attempting to test support resistance right here. I don't think this is the fundamental test. The more significant level would be something down here, because this was an area where there was a lot of liquidity and price got rejected from multiple times. This would be a weaker area of the market where we popped up to, got rejected fairly quickly. You can just see the price pops up here, consolidates very briefly, comes back down, forms a lower high, and pushes lower. And what I do want to point out as well is if we go to the Ichimoku, let's go to the Ichimoku and hide our drawings here briefly. What do we have price doing? We did have price giving you this nice, again, we talked about the time transformation buy signal, popping to the upside. We have waning bullish momentum, so not a lot of immediate follow through on this movement to the upside right now. Unable to hold the upper boundary of the cloud, so trading back inside of the cloud. There was a potential that you could have caught this on the extremely low time frames, but I've looked at this backwards and forwards, and unless you were already positioned in a long off a non-Ichimoku, I don't see how this would have gotten you into the trade unless you would have potentially said, used a strategy that I'm not aware of, like price going above the Tenkin and then coming back down and finding support off the Tenkin. You can see that had, I just came up with that because that's not a way that I trade Ichimoku, not any way that I've ever heard anybody trade Ichimoku. But as you can see, price comes up, closes above the Tenkin, closes above the Kijun, pulls back down and finds support on the Tenkin. So potentially you could have taken that trade or price crossing above the Kijun. Typically you don't do that if price is below the cloud. But again, just an interesting strategy that I would encourage you to go and back test yourself. All right, Let us look at, I want to zoom out though, and I want to zoom out and I want to look at the daily and just talk broadly about what's going on in the market. So we've had significant rejection. We had a large amount of selling, as I talked about. This is a bearish candle that does have to be reckoned with and sets this up as a bearish order block as we have charted out. So if we go ahead and throw the drawings back on, what happened? We came up, got completely filled on short orders and rejected hard from the bearish order block. Now, I'm not bullish on price action until we're able to clear the bearish order block. Until then, all returns to this zone are opportunities to sell. Why? Because we see that as opposed to this candle right here, so when you put in bullish momentum like this and price continues to go up, all pullbacks are for the opportunities of buying until you get another significant candle in the market, this one right here, significant selling. And as I talked about, that investor's loss of confidence. So anybody who is overly optimistic and enthusiastic about Bitcoin just based off the technicals that are on the chart, I don't see it. Looking for the short trade, I think that's the highest. Low risk, high reward trade setup on the table. Because we don't have another significant level of support until down here at 48.44 and potentially 47.89, as we can see, and even lower if we're targeting the daily key, or excuse me, the daily Tenkan right here. So as I've talked about, what is the purpose of having multiple horizontal lines on your chart denoting these higher time frame levels of support and resistance? They're there to let you know where price is likely to wick down to on one or two occasions to be able to take advantage of liquidity grabs, because this is where there are going to be large orders sitting in the book, where there's going to be large resting orders, whether they be hidden or whether they be limit orders that are not hidden. That you can see, and you can kind of see that when the orders beef up as price gets down below. Not a lot of comments on the Tensor Charts order book spoofing. I had to drive some family to a medical appointment this morning, so I wasn't able to actively monitor the order books. I'm just looking at the technicals and seeing that my short order got completely filled. Again, it's going to be very on my primary account, I was already short from 53.50, as again, I talked about on the stream. I was just setting up the alternative for those individuals who missed the trade in the first place and want to be able to short or target any retraces back into the bearish order block now that one has been established. So should price, and I'll make the bullish case, right? This is the technical case for the bullish upside. Should price overcome the bearish order block by closing above 5,300 on the daily, then I do believe that we will be testing, I mean, it's not that I believe. Technically, we will be testing a higher level of support, most likely 5,700, 5,800, or anywhere within this red zone territory that is overlying resistance. Above this area, as I've talked about at length, above 5,780 to 6,150, I am looking for short entries because I do believe firmly that we reject from the $6,000 area on the initial retest for the reasons that I've been laying out in this channel for for a while now, but that I've elucidated on specifically during these pre-recordeds, taking this opportunity to talk a little bit more intimately and a little bit more closely and just elucidate on some of my thoughts that sometimes I don't get the opportunity to do in the live stream because we have so many requests pouring in, we have so many people to talk to, such exciting topics to get brought up that I would never even think to talk about by our viewers and supporters. So thank you guys so much for that. And again, if you've never captured one of our live streams, if this happens to be the first breaking Bitcoin market update that you've seen, then I do highly recommend that you subscribe to this channel and give us the thumbs up. We appreciate that, of course, because we are here live every day from 12 to 2 CDT, Monday through Friday, and 5 to 7 p.m. CDT every weekend to break down the market and take your requests. All right. So nothing's really changed on the higher time frames to talk about here with Bitcoin. Just a reactionary movement off of support and immediately rejected. So this does need to have follow through, or this is just a stop loss on. This is just a grab for liquidity to clear out shorts. If we go over to Tensor Charts, we can see 40 million. Let's go back here in time just a little bit. Here we go to the pump. 40 million worth of open interest slaughtered on that movement to the upside. 40 million in open interest slaughtered on that movement to the upside. And what do we see? We see no follow through. We just see distribution on that trade right there. Price is moving down. We see open interest rising back up, meaning new people are putting on positions, and we finally see a lot of short liquidations, right? Typically, when you see a lot of short liquidations, where is price likely to go? Price usually likely to go down. So people like to enter into price during consolidation. Let's go back over here. So a lot of individuals like to enter into a short trade during consolidation. A lot of people are looking at this structure on the chart and they're thinking that Bitcoin's going to break down. We've tested support once, twice, 3, 4, 5 times. Surely we're going to break it. Stop loss hunt, continuation to the downside. Now, if this ends up closing the daily above 5,300, this idea will be invalidated. Why? Because all we need to do is close above the daily order block. That's how the market works. We don't need to go as high as the retest of 54, 5,500. That's insane. That's just not how it works. You have liquidity here. Anybody that entered into a short position anywhere in this zone, if they're trading not on margin, what I'm trying to say is that this area up here is a pool of liquidity. This is also the established top of the bearish order block that we have right here. Again, this candle is the bearish order block, and that is the candle that needs its daily close to be overtaken. So this zone right here, this is also congruent with 1, 2, 3, 4 tops, right here. So this zone right here around the 5,300, so above 5,300. And just the way that you trade order blocks is that you look to get an average entry within the order block around the median of the order block. You set your stop loss slightly above, and then you target your next critical level of liquidity, which right now I'm targeting. You can see right here, I'm targeting the daily Tenkan. I'm targeting the bottom of these swing lows that formed. This swing low formed the conditions necessary to form a bearish order block. Also, you can see 48.44 is a good target, as well as 47.89, and then obviously anything within the cyan blue box territory, 47.32 to 47.89, which represent, again, kind of the boundary between that pool of liquidity and the daily Tenkan. Again, a critical level of support that most likely, that will act as a good level of support on the way down. So going back to the hourly, we don't have a confirmed bearish cross under yet. We do potentially, if we do top right here and roll over and cross on time transformation, we will have regular bearish divergence because we are going to be making a higher high and a lower high on our oscillator right here. If we go to the daily though, because I think this is more indicative. So look at what we've put in right here. Individuals who think they're going to be entering into another trending trade or trying to use trend following indications. As we talked about yesterday, time transformation has crossed below the zero line on the daily. And although we are going to close today with a cross, we don't take reversals when the strongest signal is to enter into a trend trade to the downside, with time transformation crossing the daily below the zero line right here. And as we can see, if we look at our confirmation indicator, look at Wada Atar. Look at what Wada Atar is doing. We are not trading above the explosion level. This is telling us that there's just not enough volume. I mean, look at the pump and look at the volatility that Wada Atar is measuring, as opposed to these days right here. I mean, the volume is just not there to make this any worthwhile. There's no follow through on this yet so far. And there's not a lot of volume. There's just not a lot of volume, guys. It's just not there. So I'd be very, very cautious trying to take this to the upside. Could work out for you. Again, we could hit higher targets here again for a secondary retest, but as long as we're trading inside that bearish order block, I'm only looking for short trades. Looking at the total crypto market cap, we can see that after rejecting from my initial zone of resistance right here, we came down, formed a swing low by a low denoted or boundaried by a higher low on either side, have come back up and been consolidating right below my level of resistance right here, the bearish order block in the crypto market cap. So same concept as Bitcoin's actual spot price. Or futures price, because we were just looking at it on BitMEX. But again, the correlation remains the same. We're looking for this area to be taken out. If this area does get taken out, we are going to be testing the upper boundary of this resistance, if not higher. But for right now, all we're doing is consolidating underneath resistance. And if we do turn from here, we will have just formed a lower high. And I believe this will be continuation of a more significant chunk being taken out of the market cap. As I said, the next area of interest is all the way down here to test this inefficiency in the market, to test this weakness, this inefficiency, this gap up basically in price, which is not indicative of a healthy marketplace, and which the marketplace likes to return to and make sure, basically just to double check, be like, hey, bulls, were you serious? Like, you really wanted to buy here? You guys weren't just on a bunch of PCP or something like that? So again, similar to gaps in any chart, price likes to return and fill those gaps and fill and double check those inefficiencies in the market. And we have a very strong one right here on the total crypto market cap, similarly as we have one on Bitcoin's price as well. Looking at Tether dominance, we can see that Tether has come up. Its dominance has come up and tested resistance right here, forming a bit of a double top and rejecting currently from resistance, as we can see money flowing back into the altcoins and cryptocurrency right now. What I need to see is I need to see this low get taken out, and this will be an SFP, and we could we could make a good assumption that price is going to more fully revisit and fill this gap right here, and more importantly, this inefficiency in the market here. And as you just saw right there, we're beginning to flash the daily sell signal on USTT dominance, meaning generally when that happens, that is an indication that you should be buying cryptocurrency and selling Tether. So if we go ahead and turn back in time, you can see that we did get a buy signal on USTD dominance right here on the daily on the 7th of April, and we've been in a slow bleed out of altcoins basically ever since then. Tether dominance up 22% in that same time frame. I do need to see this low get taken out. I do need to see this low, excuse me, this low right here. Oh, not that, not a trend line. Sorry. Need to see this low get taken out right here, and I think that you can double down on your altcoin positions or be more comfortable moving back into altcoins for the interim. But again, we'll just wait to see what happens out of this Tether consolidation. But either way, Tether price moving down means a good bullish day for the altcoins and cryptocurrency in general. Turning our attention over to the CME futures, we do see the CME futures putting in a little bit of a bullish consolidation pattern after this highly volatile movement to the upside right here in Bitcoin's price, tapping into the liquidity above. And unlike BitMEX, we don't actually see the same violent rejection here on the CME futures. So we'll be keeping an eye on this and seeing how this plays out and see if we do get a secondary push up and a retest of some of these more critical areas of resistance. But as we can see here on the CME futures, if we compare the CME futures here with what happened in BitMEX's price, I mean, BitMEX went all the way to the highs up here. BitMEX went like 4 to 5% higher. So we can see a much more restrained effect from CME. And you can make the argument that there's less volume on the CME, but look how much more efficiently their market is. Their market did not allow for that 4 to 5% pump. So we'll be watching CME futures to see how the day kind of settles up and look if this is going to be a good leading indicator for price appreciating a little bit more to the upside, or continuing on to the downside and just representing a liquidity hunt and a stop hunt. So I would be interested to know what your thoughts on this are. Do you think that BitMEX is the more accurate indicator of where the market is going based on where liquidity was, or do you think the CME futures are more indicative of where price and liquidity is headed? Now, for those of you that are new to the cryptocurrency space, Bitcoin Cash Satoshi's vision is a hard fork of Bitcoin Cash, which is itself a hard fork of Bitcoin. So a little Bitcoin inception going on there for the more scientifically minded. Now, Bitcoin Cash hard forked from Bitcoin back in late 2017, and it was an operation that was heavily backed by Roger Ver, Jihan Wu, and Bitmain, and other several business interests that wanted to capitalize on the namesake of Bitcoin during a time in the market when everything was pumping because of so much new money entering into the space. And if you think that that's not the reason that Bitcoin Cash was created as a cash grab, then I think you're sorely mistaken. There's no real other reason that anybody would want to hard fork Bitcoin that were business investment interests rather than the financial turn, the financial opportunity for profit. So they happened to find a mouthpiece, a couple mouthpieces actually. Anyways, I digress. So I will say that I understand Roger Ver's arguments / mouthpiece words. You know, he makes some compelling cases, right? He says that when he signed up for Bitcoin in the first place, he signed up to proselytize and promote a cryptocurrency that was an alternative to cash, that was nearly instantaneous in its transmission, and that was so cheap it was nearly free to send from one place to another, or at least so cheap that you wouldn't even consider what the transaction fee would be. Now again, those can be compelling arguments, but let's distill what his stance really is. Roger Ver is essentially saying, hey guys, we've created this fantastic technology called Bitcoin. This technology has the capacity to revolutionize the way that mankind interacts with money, with banks, and with central authorities. This gives mankind autonomy and authority over their own money, and we've designed this network to secure their money in such a way that it is nearly impervious to government attack. How we design the system. This is a revolutionary technology that will push mankind into the next level of social evolution and fundamentally change everything we know about money. But it'd be really, really nice if I could just get my coffee really cheap, quickly, and conveniently too. So let's just take all that, fuck that, and let's focus on hard forking the biggest cryptocurrency out there that is in the spotlight, really the biggest spotlight that it's ever seen. We're getting more opportunities for mass adoption than ever before. Why? Because everything's price is appreciating. We have new money entering into the space. There's lots of new people, thousands and thousands and thousands of new people holding cryptocurrency, interested in cryptocurrency, talking about cryptocurrency. You've got cryptocurrency businesses popping up everywhere. Cryptocurrency is so in the news and in the spotlight that you have governments reevaluating their positions, their stances, banks and investment firms and hedge funds reevaluating their positions on cryptocurrency. We're at this critical moment in time when the decisions of what could happen next with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency are really in the hands of our public figures, of the people who are out there promoting and speaking on behalf of Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency community. And I, Roger Ver, am one of those people. And in addition to supporting Mt. Gox, I think we should take this opportunity when we're at this critical juncture of time to go ahead and split this shit up. Oh, I got an idea. This is gonna be amazing. Let's take over the Bitcoin.com domain. Okay, let's pay a bunch of people to spread rumors and falsifications about Bitcoin in the first place. Let's take advantage of this critical time in the market. Oh, let's split this. We'll call the split. We'll call this new shitcoin. We'll call it Bitcoin. But okay, let's put cash at the end. Yeah, cash. That's a grabber. That's gonna get their attention. Let's put cash at the end. And I got it. Let's also hire a bunch of miners. Let's pay them cash so that they're not losing money. Let's pay them cash out of all these ASICs that we sold to mine Bitcoin, by the way, and which we have a lot of, a shit ton of. Let's pay these miners to spam the regular Bitcoin blockchain so that we can point to that and say, hey, look how slow the blockchain is. Don't pay attention to the fact that this is like an anomaly and hasn't really happened before and we're the ones doing it. But just look how slow that stuff is over there, man. Come to us. Come over to us. And you can get your coffee cheap and quick. Yay! Go Bitmain! All in the name of cheap, convenient coffee. Oh, did I forget to mention? I forgot to mention, sorry. That the way that they're going to accomplish all this is by introducing a security flaw into the Bitcoin protocol, by just arbitrarily raising the block size, right? Not by developing an eloquent long-term scaling solution. We're just going to go down this never-ending spiral of having to constantly increase the block size. And by the way, alienate in this hard fork a mass swath of all the most brilliant Bitcoin developers in the first place, so that things like true eloquent solutions like sidechains and Schnorr signatures that are going to improve security and going to be true solutions to scaling, they're going to get pushed to the back burner, if not goddamn right, pushed off the stove onto the floor. Let's do that. So that's Bitcoin Cash. Let's talk about Bitcoin Cash Satoshi's vision, because guess what? It gets better. So a full year following the hard fork of Bitcoin Cash from Bitcoin, in August of 2018, Bitcoin Cash announced that they were going to be doing another hard fork scheduled for November 2018. Now, in this hard fork, they were going to be upgrading the system in two ways. The main way was they were going to be introducing a opcode that would enable smart contracts and oracles on the blockchain. And secondly, they would be restructuring the way the transaction data was organized on a block. This was known as canonical transaction ordering, or CTOR. Or canonical transaction reordering, however you'd like to put it. So in come Calvin Ayre and Craig Wright, who had originally taken the side of Bitcoin Cash. Now, Craig Wright should need no introduction. His main claim to fame is claiming to be Satoshi Nakamoto. Now, I could go into a long-winded explanation of why he is not, but it's as simple as this. If you are indeed Satoshi Nakamoto, Mr. Craig Wright, then prove your key ownership by just send one Bitcoin, send a millibit for God's sakes, to a charity of your choosing. Just send it. We have the public key. We have the public key of Satoshi's wallets. Just sign it. Just send the Bitcoin. If you can't do that, you're not Satoshi. Anybody can say they're Satoshi Nakamoto. Fuck, I'm Satoshi Nakamoto, right? But until you actually prove your key ownership, you do not have any claim to that name. So there's so much good information out there. Please check out the link in the top of the description for a technical explanation, better than I could do, of why he is not Satoshi Nakamoto and why his dog and pony show to the BBC and the Economist private journalists that purportedly proved that he is Satoshi Nakamoto was a stage magician act, a sleight of hand with misdirection for a non-technical audience that he was able to swindle into believing that he actually signed a key. If you have two difficult ways to prove that you're Satoshi Nakamoto, or excuse me, if you have a difficult way and an easy way to prove you're Satoshi Nakamoto, and you choose the difficult way, which includes which involves stage magic and basically lying to non-technical individuals about a technical subject, you're probably not. And the fact that you already tried to hoodwink your way into getting people to believe that you're Satoshi Nakamoto, and we can verify that you didn't prove that you're Satoshi Nakamoto. I mean, listen, at this point, I would rather, if anybody truly is Satoshi Nakamoto, I would more so believe this argument. Like, look, man, I am Satoshi, but here's the thing. I was smoking a lot of reefer when I wrote the original blockchain concept, the whole Bitcoin thing. You know, I was doing a lot of couch surfing during that time. And, you know, I lost my laptop, I lost my private keys, but, you know, go to centralization. That would be a more believable story than, well, I'm Satoshi Nakamoto. And to prove it, I'm going to do this very elaborate stage dog and pony show type thing. No, man, come on. So, introducing also to the scene, Mr. Calvin Ayre, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist, suspected pedophile. What? What's that? Oh, only the first and the last thing are true. So, okay, so not a philanthropist, not a playboy, just billionaire and suspected pedophile. Okay, sorry about that. Let's retract that right there. Now, when Bitcoin Cash announced these innovations, these two knuckleheads argued completely against it, using essentially the same tired arguments that Bitcoin Cash had used to argue against Bitcoin in the first place. Now, what is important to note is for Craig Wright, this was an opportunity for him to vault to the limelight again at a time when the large majority of cryptocurrency investors and traders thought that Bitcoin was bottoming at 6,000 and that new all-time highs were just a few short months away. And on Calvin Ayre's side, his miners, so Calvin Ayre is the owner of CoinGeek, which is one of the largest Bitcoin Cash mining pools. His miners didn't support the restructuring of transaction data on the block. They wouldn't be able to mine if Bitcoin Cash ABC implemented CTOR, a canonical transaction ordering. So he definitely had a financial incentive to not want to support the support the ABC fork. So cue the hash wars, and 6 months later, we have two piles of dog shit. We have one pile of dog shit that now has smart contracts, which isn't a problem in and of itself, and oracles. Sounds cool, but who cares? And over here, we've got the original pile of dog shit. Yay! And we've got one reigning champion, Bitcoin. So that's a brief history of BCH SV, in addition to a brief history of BCH ABC. Now, what were the events leading up to Binance or CZ now infamously announcing that they were going to be delisting Bitcoin Cash SV? Well, I'm not going to get super in-depth, but just suffice to say, there was a Twitter personality, HODLNOT, aka Space Cat, who was a prime mover in the Craig Wright is a fraud hashtag. He was always, out there, and I think quite heroically, saying, hey, this dude is a fraud. This dude is not Satoshi Nakamoto. Here are the reasons why. This dude's full of shit. And Craig Wright didn't like that. And as he is wont to do, Craig Wright went ahead and said, hey, you know what? I'm going to sue you. I'm going to attempt to sue you. And I'm going to, since you're anonymous, but since you've taken some photographs in your local area and, with your face obscured, but we can see tattoos on your arm. And since we can tell from like pinging your activity that you mostly come from the Oslo area, we're going to put out a bounty for anybody that can unmask you and reveal your identity. Now, this opens up dramatic conversations that we could have about privacy and identity and what is legal and what is not, and capitalism and free market capitalism. So is paying to expose somebody's identity legal in a free market society? That's a good conversation to have. How do we feel about privacy? Do we care about freedom more? Do we care about privacy more? Do we care about rules, and how will we enforce those rules? So if you're going to say that privacy is a primary concern and that's going to be our number one standard, freedom and liberty, okay, well, then how do we protect against violations of privacy? Because it would seem that this would be a gross violation of privacy, and that's something that we should as a community stand up and denounce against, which is exactly what happened. So I think what actually happened in reality kind of unbalances or kind of forfeits the need for that massive argument, because what happened is the cryptocurrency community stood up in mass with the hashtag I am HODLNOT, taking on his moniker, because HODLNOT actually deleted his account because he was getting a lot of flack and abuse, and obviously people trying to get that cash money from Craig Wright, even though there's blood on the money. So HODLNut deleted his account, and the community stepped up to support him by taking on his image, taking on his avatar, and starting the hashtag #WeAreHODLNut, and just descending on Calvin Ayre and Craig Wright in mass with scorn and wicker lashes and tar and feathers and everything you could think of. And it's not enough, and they deserve more. I digress. So then enter Peter McCormack. He's a mommy blogger. He actually is more public, so Craig Wright decided to target him because he was also a prime mover in the Craig Wright is a scam after he had gotten HODLNut to delete his account, and he sued him, officially sued him. He has been served papers and documents. Now, according to Peter McCormack's Twitter, he has received legal representation. He has a pretty funny tweet where he responds to Craig Wright's official document. Now, whether or not this is a smart legal move or not, I don't know. It'll just be kind of interesting to see how that plays out. And so in response to all of this, Binance steps out on Twitter, CZ steps out on Twitter and says, listen, you're not Satoshi Nakamoto, any more of this, and we're going to delist BCHSV. But that's kind of one of those things like when I tell my kids, like, listen, any more of this, if you yell one more time in the living room about your video game, that video game's getting turned off. I already know when I say that within 10 minutes, that video game's getting shut off. I already know because, you know, just, they can't help themselves, you know? So there's impulse control that young children and frauds like, you know, like Craig Wright suffer from. And so he already knew what was going to happen. But anyways, Binance delisting Bitcoin Cash, Satoshi's Vision. As we said about yesterday, you have, I think, a week until the 22nd, I believe, to get your BCHSV off of Binance. Sell it, be gone with it. But, you know, this is the crypto market, so it'll probably pump, it'll probably dump, it'll go through this realm. But just so, and again, I am not here to tell you what's going to be the best altcoin to buy in 2019. I'm going to advise you. My role in this is as a trader, but I just felt that I would be remiss as a participant in the cryptocurrency community, and now having a platform that I can vocalize my opinions from, making sure that the community understands what side of the argument that Kraken Cryptocurrency and myself take on this argument, and putting our weight behind that. So we don't believe in BCHSV. We don't even really like BCH. We are supporters of Bitcoin and anything that will support the Bitcoin ecosystem, because I think that that is going to be beneficial for everybody's life, for everybody's investments, and for everybody's bottom line. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me today for another episode of Breaking Bitcoin Market Update. Sorry it was a little bit of a shorter video today, but I did just want to focus a little bit on the exposition and bringing you guys some news and my opinions and my thoughts and feelings on what's currently happening in the cryptocurrency space. We will be returning tomorrow at 12 p.m. CDT to 2 p.m. CDT for our daily live streams. We're going to be resuming that. Very, very happy to be doing that. Although it's nice taking this little hiatus, I've been able to work a lot on the future programs going to be rolling out in May for the premium subscribers, as well as the new indicators and strategies that we promised are going to be coming out. So I'm almost done with them. They're looking really, really good. I'm very happy. I wanted to take more time and more firmly backtest the results and backtest across more assets, backtest actually on Forex as well. So I wanted to make sure the strategy works on multiple asset classes and not just cryptocurrency. But anyways, look forward to that moving forward, guys. Thank you so much for all your support. Make sure that if you're not already, subscribe to this channel and hit the bell so you never miss an episode, because we are here every single day breaking down the markets with no nonsense education about how to trade profitably. And if you're not already, if you would like to have more in-depth mentorship to develop your own if this then that strategy, as well as access to our own indicators and strategies, our own trade signals and setups, and our private Discord community, make sure to check out the link at the top of the screen, premium.krakencryptocurrency.com. I look forward to working more closely with you guys. Until tomorrow, guys, make sure to trade safely, and I'll catch you in the next one.